Hello and welcome or welcome back to Language Culture and Dr. Lou. And so today I'd like to talk about some really common myths that people have behind learning languages. And I like to debunk these myths, take away these myths by, well, pointing out the facts about these things and thereby, I like to debunk a lot of the excuses that people make for just not wanting to keep on learning a language or not wanting to start learning a language or anything. Because honestly, they to me seem like kind of lame excuses based on rationalizations founded on myths. And so just drop it all. And I was inspired to do this video because well, school is about to start again for the university students. And so I started thinking about, well, all the excuses that I hear from people who don't want to or don't think they should bother learning more French. And yeah, so that inspired me to do this. So I'd like to, yeah, tackle these and hopefully that might encourage you or someone else to go ahead and follow the path of learning another language, even if you didn't think it was very doable for you in the past. So let's get to it. Starting with, a lot of people think that you need natural talent in order to learn a language, or you need an amazing memory to be able to do this, or, like having natural talent means you would need to have a particular skill set in order for learning a language to work. And that's honestly, well, it can help to have a flair for languages in the beginning when you're starting to learn, but it's really not necessary because the truth is, anybody is capable of learning absolutely any language because it's really all about practice. It's all about consistent repetition and yeah, practice. Practice makes perfect after all. And so some of the excuses that I've heard from language learners are just, oh, I'm not good at languages. I don't have an aptitude for it, or it's just too hard for me. And the worst is when people are comparing themselves, looking down on themselves, comparing themselves to other people, saying, oh, it's easier for them, it's easier for other people. Fact is, no matter anybody can learn a language as long as you're willing to put in the time and effort that it takes. And so don't be expecting to become perfectly fluent within a couple weeks or a couple months because it will take some practice, but it's very much possible to master a language for anybody. And so what it takes is not a particular skill set, it's just practice. All we need is practice to learn a language. And that brings me to two important parts of the whole practicing thing. Uh, Number one is you want to have spaced repetition, which means you want to space out your different times practicing this language or the different times you're exposing yourself to this language. Space it out a little bit so that you can then, be connecting some memories between different times. And speaking of the memory, the other part of space repetition, something that will go a long way along with this, is retrieval practice, which means like instead of just picking up the textbook or starting the app again at the same place to study over the same exact material again, what will help it stick for a long term is called retrieval practice. It means instead of just picking up the book and looking at the same things again, try to see if you can retrieve a lot of this information, like let's say vocabulary words, or let's say how to put together a sentence by using a specific tense, a specific verb tense. If you can pull that out of your memory and get it and get some retrieval working, that will help to stick for a lot much longer time. And it will also help you identify the blanks, the areas where you need to especially focus on next time you are opening the textbook, the things you know now that you don't really remember already. So, anyway, in all that, the retrieval practice will help you build a little confidence. And that confidence is going to be necessary for dealing with the ups and downs of language learning. And that's actually what fluency is all about. Being fluent in a language, in my opinion, it's depends on how comfortable you are with it. If you're comfortable being in an environment where you're hearing this language a lot, and to be able to produce some of it aloud, to speak in it, that means you're fairly fluent. It's all about your level of comfort and getting a little more comfortable with using the language will then in turn give you the confidence that you need to keep on going. Just keep on going until you really have it down. Anyway, so once again, you don't need any natural talent to learn a language. Anybody could do it, and it's all about practice. And when you practice, you want to space it out quite a bit, and you want to be able to retrieve things from memory, and you want to work on that and not just be reading it out of a book or listening to a CD for it. Anyway, so the next myth I'd like to debunk is that people think that learning is a linear process. Like if you are studying a little more and you keep going, you should be in one direct straight line, moving up and up and up, getting better and better and better. And that's not exactly how it works. um, Language learning, like any kind of learning, is not a strictly linear action. It's a process. And so you will have some ups and downs. Like, even if you are getting better, well, even as you are getting better at speaking a language, sometimes you're probably going to feel frustrated if you're having trouble memorizing some new vocabulary, or if you're having some trouble wrapping your head around a new grammatical concept. That might make you feel defeated a little bit, like, oh no, I should be better at this by now. But the fact is, again, it goes back to have a little confidence in yourself. And so, yeah, the ups and downs of learning can have people sometimes a little disappointed or dismayed. But the fact is, it would be better if you could just, yeah, enjoy the progress you're making and recognize some of the progress you're making. And a good way to do this is journaling. You can journal any progress you make learning the language. Like, let's say at some point you end up being able to write a little message on Facebook to somebody using the target language. Journal that as a little bit of progress that you've made. Or let's say you hear some words in this language on the radio or TV and you recognize them perfectly. Journal that. And that way you'll be able to, well, enjoy some of the progress you're making and get the confidence it takes to know that you are improving bit by bit, and that it's very much worth keeping going on it. And so, yeah, so that's where what you can take home from that is that you should really be giving yourself credit for all the progress you're making. That will help you take in stride any of the little hiccups you go through in the meantime. So that's that. And so the third myth I wanted to debunk a little bit is when people think that there's no point of trying to speak a language if you're not fluent in it yet. And this often equates to shyness caused by people being too afraid to make mistakes. Like, I've heard a lot of excuses. Oh, I'll wait until I'm a little better at it, or I'm not ready yet, or I make too many mistakes. And the problem is that's a falsehood. To wait until you're a little better at speaking the language before you try to speak it, to me, that's very backwards, because the only way that you get fluent with a language is by speaking it. So if you're not feeling quite fluent yet, that's exactly the right time to force yourself to just go ahead and speak it a little bit. And you can often find language-centered communities online, and even sometimes in your local community, there will be some language tables and stuff like that. So please do get involved any chance you get, especially if you have a native speaker or other language learners looking to improve their language. You can work together, and the one big part of this is you have to be ready to make a lot of mistakes. I mean, a lot of mistakes, because that is normal. And honestly, while that can make some people gun shy, it can make them a little too shy to want to even try to practice. Um, it's actually necessary to go ahead and make these mistakes, because often from when you make mistakes, and especially when those get pointed out to you, that's a perfect time to learn from them. That might increase your chances of learning this and having it stick with you. So if you're feeling like you should wait longer until you're better at a language before trying to speak it, then I say, no, that's backwards. Please do give it a whirl. Be ready to make mistakes and be ready to learn from them. But there's no way you're going to get to be able to speak a language without speaking it, without going through the steps of speaking it. That's how language learning works. And so this other one holds a lot of people back from wanting to learn it. I teach at the college level, so my students are ages anywhere from 17 to, I think my oldest student so far has been 68 years old. And so these are all people who would qualify, or mostly people who qualify as adults. And we just use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm not going to bother learning a language. It's too late for me. I should have done it when I was a kid. And since I didn't, oh well. And that, yeah, I don't really like that way of thinking, because, well, it's true that kids can learn languages. They can pick languages up. After all, they all do it with their native language. But when we think about how good kids are at learning languages, we're kind of imagining them in an ideal, like, immersion situation where they're surrounded by the language and picking bits up like they did with their native language when they were even younger. And well, kids can be pretty good at picking up, like, sounding a little more like native speakers, about picking up expressions the way that native speakers use them. Uh, and this is probably because they have this neuroplasticity going on in their brains where they can adapt a little more. Now, learning a second language as an adult comes with its own set of advantages to it. For example, if you're an adult, you might be more um, aware of different grammatical concepts. Like, what if you can already identify in a sentence what is the subject and what is the verb, and maybe even what is the object, or if there is an object in the sentence. All that is, you're starting way far ahead of a little kid would. And yeah, and so you should take advantage again about that. And really, people have this attitude, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? Uh, but the fact is, old dogs can learn new tricks, and it's good for them. And learning a language as an adult is going to actually boost your brain. It's even better for adults to be learning second languages, because learning a second language well, it challenges your brain in ways that will make it more flexible and ready to adapt a little more. And that can all help keep your brain sharp. It sort of boosts your brain and help keep your brain sharp while you're aging. So this can help slow down the aging of your brain, just keeping it sharp. And that's very, very useful for someone who's middle aged or older than that. It can be, yeah, highly useful. So please don't be despaired because you think that only kids can really learn a language, because trust me, adults can do it too. It's all about practice. It's all about being ready to make mistakes, but to learn from those mistakes. And it's all about Yeah, being flexible. And so please do. I would highly encourage you to go ahead and keep learning languages as an adult because kids are not the only ones who can do this. And then finally, this is one of the myths about language learning that bugs at me the most, especially because I think everybody should learn multiple languages, not just because it's good for your brain, but it's good for cultural sensitivity and empathy and developing communication skills and all that. But often people think, oh, speaking the language isn't that important, especially now that we have all this technology to do it for us. But the fact is, if people are thinking, oh, I'm going to Europe, a couple countries in Europe, but there's no way I have the time to learn language, so I'll just use an online translator. I have an app on my phone that will do this. And so I really don't like that because honestly, AI is not great with language. Even large language model AIs, they're not right when they do their translations. Like a good quarter of the time, they're making mistakes in it. So when they're only perfectly correct, like three-quarters of the time, those are not good odds. Let me tell you about translation programs and whatnot. They're really good for taking a language that you don't know, even a word of, and getting the gist of what has been said in your native language. You can make some sense out of that. But what they're terrible at is taking something from your native language and translating that into another language because it might get kind of garbled up and then come off really weird when you say this to somebody else. And the worst one I've heard comes from the last excuse I've got on here, which is everyone speaks English anyway. Like, if you are a native speaker of English, you might not feel motivated to learn another language because English speakers, you often just feel like, well, English gets taught in pretty much every country around the world. So wherever I travel, they will probably know some English. But that right there is cultural imperialism. It's don't force them to adapt to you if you're traveling somewhere else. They would always appreciate it so much, even if all you know how to say is hello, how are you? Please and thank you. It will be much appreciated as opposed to being, ugly American party of one where you expect everybody to adapt to you. So, yeah. Anyway, I would say that yes, speaking another language is important, especially for adults who want to protect our brains a little bit, keep our brains mentally sharp and whatnot. Speaking language is very important, and yeah, and you don't want to be an imperialist about it. And imagine if you're relying on your phone on an app to do the translating, and then your phone craps out on you, where you'll be then probably thinking, "Oh, I should have learned a little language." Anyway, so yeah, so I hope this might set the record straight on some myths you may have heard about speaking languages, and I really do encourage you to go ahead and learn a language no matter what age you are, no matter what is your native language. There's always room for more, and it will really help. So, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate that. And please do remember to give it a like, give it a thumbs up if you got anything out of it. And please also do feel free to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I would appreciate that so much. And yeah, so I guess that's all I have for now. So yeah, I guess, yeah, I'll catch you around next time. Bye bye.